Dans cet épisode, je m'entretiens avec Craig Ballantine qui a écrit 4 livres à succès: Perfect Day Formula, Perfect Week Formula, Unstoppable, tous des livres qui ont fait les best-sellers sur Amazon. Et dans cet épisode, on a parlé de son nouveau livre, The Dark Side of Discipline. On a parlé du côté sombre non de la force, mais bien de la discipline. Qu'est-ce qui nous pousse à vouloir être encore de plus en plus discipliné et à faire les routines à pu finir. Pour ça, on a parlé de l'importance de sa vision personnelle, sa vision d'entreprise et finalement de son changement de mindset parce que c'est quelqu'un qui était connu comme le gars de discipline qui coach les entrepreneurs à être plus disciplinés et un peu sa façon de voir les choses, comment ça a changé aussi avec l'arrivée de ses 3 enfants dans les 3 dernières années. Donc, il n'a pas chômé. Donc, sur ce, je vous laisse sur l'épisode et n'oubliez pas de liker, de vous abonner sur la chaîne YouTube et de vous abonner aussi sur Spotify. Donc, bonne écoute. Craig, you're a new father since a couple of years. What
Yeah.
changed in your life since you've been a father?
Man, life is so much better. We have three kids under three for just a couple more days. Our first one turns three in a few days from now, and it's been an absolute joy. And everything that I had done before that, as a business owner, as someone who's productive, everything really prepared me for it. Because I think the lessons I got from having kids, the first one, you have to increase your communication. Just like when you're a gym owner, you're a personal trainer, and you have people that work for you, or you're working with people, you have to just improve your communication about expectations, about the schedule, etc. And then when we had our second child, we had two under two. The preparation had to go to the next level. So just like when if our clients are trying to get in shape, or if somebody's training for a fitness competition, your preparation has to go to that next level. And so that means the meal prep, et cetera, for fitness people. But in terms of with your kids, it just means being much more prepared and scheduled and sticking to that routine as much as you can. Because if you stick to that routine, there's going to be a lot of craziness, of course, but that's the key. And then we had our third under three, and I think this one was really about buying back your time. We had always had nannies and some help, but we got even more. And when people have kids, I always tell first-time dads, and the most important thing you need to do is buy back your wife's time, because we will find it challenging as fathers, but the physical rehabilitation that a mother has to go through after they give birth, plus the hormonal changes, it's all very difficult and challenging, let alone having a baby stuck to you 24 hours a day. We need to be able to give them an opportunity to go and exercise. My wife had C-section, so she had to do rehab exercises, and also just to have some alone time, to take a shower, and so buying back that time, even if financially you're like, man, I can't afford a full-time nanny, um, you need to do at least like a couple 4-hour blocks per week, and that will improve your marriage, because otherwise everybody's going to be tired and it's going to be tough. So those are the things that I've learned along the way, and I just wanted to share those. But there's a lot of overlap to what we do as business owners.
Mm. Yeah, and you're known for being the productivity guy, the most disciplined man on earth, but you just wrote a book that's called The Dark Side of the Discipline.
Yeah.
What was the goal with that? What sparked the that thought of the dark side of discipline?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that have, and so there was one main thing, and then I'm going to tell a very important story for your audience, our audience. And so the one main thing that happened was that I knew friends who were going and doing a lot of challenges that they found online. They look through their Instagram and see what the latest, trend was, and so they would go and do it. And they were spending a lot of time doing that stuff and a lot of time running their businesses, and they neglected their family. So they were doing good things at the expense of great things. And that's the dark side of discipline. You're doing a good thing, cold plunging. I love it. I do it once in a while, but I don't sacrifice my family time to go and do a cold plunge. And it's the same with working out. I like working out. I don't work out twice a day because that would sacrifice family time, even though that's, quote unquote, a good thing. And so people were doing good things at the expense of great things. And that's the dark side, because you're not doing a bad thing. It's not like you're going out and drinking on the weekend. that's a bad thing, that sacrifice is a great thing. You are actually doing something that most people should do, or most people will get benefit from. There's proven health benefits to doing cold plunges, but it sacrificed their family life, and their marriages blew up, partly because of it. So that really bothered me, and I saw this too much. And also years ago, before we started, you and I were talking about Bedros, and Bedros is a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of yours and very influential. And he used to run something called the Fitness Business Summit. And I'm sure you went to a few of those from 2009, maybe even, I think he started in 2007 to 2018 or so. So he ran it a long time. And I spoke at most of those. And every year, Jacob, I would go to the event, and I would look out in the audience, and I'd see, Peter, Paul, and Mary sitting in the audience, and they're 8% body fat, but they got $8 in their bank account because they don't know how to do sales and marketing. And we would teach them sales and marketing all weekend long. But on the breaks, they would go out and talk to the other trainers, and they would talk about workouts and nutrition. And of course, what happened is they went home from the event, put all the sales and marketing information up on the shelf, and never looked at it or thought about it again. That's their most important problem. And all they did was focus on the nutrition and workout tips they got at the event. So next year I come back and I look out in the audience, and there's Peter, Paul, and Mary, same seats. This year they're 7% body fat, and they have $7 in their bank account. So they're still broke. And they were putting a level 10 effort into a level 1 problem. All of their effort and energy and thoughts were going into getting more ripped, which didn't change their lives. And they were putting no thought, no energy, no time into learning sales and marketing. And so their business didn't grow, and they were very frustrated, and it caused a lot of problems in their life. And again, exercise and nutrition, very important for us, for everybody to do. But when you take it too far, you hit a dark side. And that's what this is about. And everybody takes something too far. We always do. And my goal is to get people to think and stop before they take something too far. They take a good thing too far, that they lose something great. And that's the bottom line.
Hmm. That's interesting. And you said they put a level 10 effort to a level 1 problem. How do you find what's your level 10 problem, and how do you start to address that problem?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so everybody's got at least one level 10 problem. Some people might have more. And they're serious, significant things. They're very obvious to you. The thing is, they're obvious to you, but you also don't want to address them because it's difficult, it's painful. So it might be like, let's say somebody listening has a business partner in their gym, and things are going sour. You're working your butt off, and they're working maybe half or less than even half as hard as you are. You're splitting the profits of the business. They're doing less and less as the months go by. Bedros had the same situation with his first business partner in Fit Body Bootcamp, and it was causing so much stress. That was a level 10 problem for him. Now, most people don't do what Bedros did. Most people let it go on. They avoid the difficult discussions. And, whether it's passive aggressive behavior, they get in, they get into an avoidance, and they let things go until it's so bad that everything blows up and everybody loses everything. What Bedros did is he had the hard conversation. He saw this is a level 10 problem. I'm not going to be able to grow Fit Body Bootcamp because I got into business with a friend who I liked. Bedros got into a business with a friend who he liked, who did not look at the business the same way Bedros did. And things were going to go very sour very quickly unless he had a very difficult conversation. So he put a level 10 effort into it. But the majority of people, whether it's their business partnership, whether it's their marriage, whether it's their own health, I know a guy who's very famous in the personal development world. He took steroids for a long time. And I'm not knocking steroids, and this doesn't happen to everybody, but he's 52 years old. He had 2 heart attacks. Maybe it was the steroids, maybe it wasn't. But, he took steroids for a long time, and he had to like stop doing that because he was sacrificed. Like, what's the point of being jacked at 52 and having heart attacks? So he had to make some health changes, and he really had to completely change his life. And I don't want people to get in that situation. I don't want something to build up and build up and build up to the point where it almost destroys your life because you're doing something that you think is good. So back to figuring out your level 10 problem. It's very easy. What keeps you up at night? When you wake up in the morning and you're like angry about something, what is it that's the deep thing that's causing you to feel that way? And it could be, you're in debt, your marriage is on the rocks, or, you have that business partnership problem. It's that thing you're avoiding. So the level 10 problem is easy to find. The problem is matching the level 10 effort. But that's what you got to do. Otherwise, your level 10 problem is going to get worse. And eventually it's going to hit a point where it's not fixable.
Hmm.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. And sometimes you know you have that problem, but you just like, I'm gonna do it like next month or next quarter, or
Sure.
you're just pushing that up. So
Listen, I was the same way, right? So there's a famous quote that in order to write the book, you must first live the book. I lived the book. I had exercise streaks of 1,000 days. Going to bed at 8 o'clock, getting up at 4 in the morning, saying I can't go out, I can't be social. I've got to stick to this plan. I went too far with it. I went too far with it so that people don't go too far with it. Now, when I switched it around and I started putting a level 10 effort in my level 10 problem, which for me, I'm an older guy and I was single for a long time or not married for a long time. I wanted to be married with kids. And so I was using the streaks and the discipline as a perverse form of procrastination. And we call it a perverse form of procrastination because I was doing good things to avoid more important things. I was doing good things to avoid more important things, like those personal trainers who were doing the good things of getting even more ripped to avoid learning sales and marketing. And we don't want that to happen. So I lived that. Eventually, I broke free from it because I started thinking more about the big why. What am I doing all of this for? I started thinking about my life's vision and creating the vision for my life and knowing that in a few years from now, I have to have this. I have to have a family. I have to be married with kids. I have to, God willing, married with kids. And I have to, live in a home that is great for them. And, we live in a nice home in Vancouver here, and the kids are playing with nannies right now. And then I'm going to go play with them. And then I'm going to go to the gym on my time. And this is the life I wanted to build. And so I had to get serious about putting a level 10 effort into my level 10 problem and stop using other stuff as distraction. And that's what we have to do. It is very difficult, but trust me, whatever situation somebody is in right now, I've been in your shoes. I wrote the book about how to become more disciplined because I used to be very undisciplined. I used to have all the bad habits, but I built systems to overcome all the bad habits. I used to use discipline. I used discipline at first to become a savior for me to stop binge drinking, but then discipline became too much. I went to the dark side, had to get out of that, come back and focus on what really matters. And this book is a thinking person's approach to knowing where to use discipline and where you're going too far. It's like this razor thin line, a double-edged sword, that it can work for you, but it can also work against you. And you just have to know the sweet spot. And man, when you know the sweet spot, you can have everything that you want in life.
that's a really good of seeing it. Before you talk about you talk about like if you have problem with a business partner in your marriage, what's your thinking process when you work with a client? Let's say I said I have a business partner, it's not going well. When do you know it's a leadership communication problem? And when do you know to just let go of some people? Because sometimes you have bad employees, but sometimes you have good employees, but bad leadership. So
Mhm.
how do you see all that?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And so if we start with the business partnership, or even being a leader of team members, it all comes down to the core values of the company. And if somebody is still aligned with the core values of the company, but they're underperforming, it's either a matter of skill or commitment. And so if you look at your business partner or your team members, do they have the skill set needed? And if they don't, then it's on you as the leader of the company to provide them the skill set, to make sure that they get the training and support, whether it's outside training, external training, you bring somebody in and train them, whether it's about being a better trainer or being a better manager, whatever it is. And then you need to support them in giving them the time to do that, but also coaching them in one-on-one meetings. If it's a matter of commitment, it's, are they committed to the vision of the company? And if they're not committed to the vision of the company, that they're not on board with the plan that you have, it's possibly because you haven't clearly communicated that vision to them. Do they really know why you started the gym? They know your backstory about how, you know, your parents were both overweight and they both got sick, and then you were like, man, I don't want this to happen to anybody. I'm going to go and start a gym. And maybe they think that you just started a gym to make money, but you actually started a gym because of that, or because you were skinny when you were a kid and only when you built muscle did you get confidence, so you want to give that to other people. If they think you just started the gym to make money, then they're not going to be as committed to the company and to your mission as you want them to be. But it's because they think that you're doing things only for money. If they know your backstory, all of a sudden they'll get a whole lot more committed. So it's on you at first that if these people have the core values of your company, they just need more skill training, or they need to understand better the vision of the company, and they will be more committed. If they still don't come around after that, they probably weren't, committed to the core values, and then it's not a good fit. Or if you find originally, like, man, our core values are, better every day. Our core values are, no BS communication, and our core values are always be early. And somebody's always late, you know, they're against one of the core values of the company. They're not going to change their ways. You may as well part ways as friends with them as quickly as possible if they're a team member. If they're a business partner, then you really got to, you got a whole lot more legal stuff to worry about, but it's going to require a lot of adult conversations. And that's what almost all level 10 problems require. And that's why we don't want to fix them, is because they require adult conversations. Those are tough to have. You need to plan and prepare in advance. Sometimes if it's around a team member and letting them go, you have legal preparations that you have to make sure that you address, depending on where you live. You want to make sure that somebody else is there when you let them go, so that there's no, he said, she said stuff. I mean, it's serious stuff. But being a business owner is not all fun and profit. It is some serious stuff. And so understand that you signed up for this, and you signed up for difficult conversations. So you got to lean into it, get better at it. And once you get good at that, addressing level 10 problems, man, everything becomes easier. So just a quick story to finish off here. Bedros Keuilian, the guy we've mentioned a couple times, 2020 was one of the roughest years for Bedros. He owned Fit Body Boot Camp, which was, I owned 4 locations, and it was a franchise. And so at the start of 2020, he's rolling, right? 500 locations, 300 franchisees. COVID hits, and he's soon down to like 100 locations or something, right? Like, he really got burnt. And so imagine, everybody listening to this, you might have 2 locations at most. Imagine losing hundreds of locations, and there's nothing you can do, and there's no end in sight. He went into some bad habits, but he quickly evolved. He went on the hero's journey, like any of your favorite movies. Here's the hero, something bad happens, and he digs himself out and ends up in a much better, stronger place. And today, if anybody follows Bedros, you see this guy who's like invincible. Well, he went through some really, really hard stuff in 2020 to get to where he is today. But that's training, essentially. That's the hero's journey. That's, somebody going from fat to ripped. They go through some tough stuff. And so for everybody listening, if you got a level 10 problem, you shouldn't look at it. I shouldn't even call them level 10 problems. It's a level 10 opportunity for you. Like, even if it's your marriage that's on the rocks, this level 10 opportunity exists for you to strengthen that marriage and for you to come out a better man or woman, like, on the other side. It might take 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. It might take that long. That's what happens when it's a level 10 problem. But imagine who you can become when you conquer that mountain. And that's the big thing to take away from this.
Yeah, it was funny. It's if you look back 5 or 10 years ago in your life, the level 10 problem, if you add them right now, you will it's a level 1 problem. So
Sure.
that's fun to see that
That's a great
our
perspective.
our level 10 problem right now is just the what we need to go to the next level. So
Exactly.
I'm curious. You mentioned mission, vision. Curious to know what's your vision and mission with your business right now.
Yeah. So our business is all about coaching entrepreneurs. We coach construction, financial services, we do have some online coaches, we have some gym owners, we have some, STELSM doctors. We have a business that addresses the same audience, kind of like EOS and scaling up, and so it's small business owners between 1 million and 20 million, and we just want to grow this thing. So I was in another mastermind with a friend of mine named Joe Polish, and you've probably seen Joe Polish's name. He's got some great books out, and he's got something called Genius Network. And the way they run their business is pretty cool. They have, it's a mastermind like mine, and they do 10 events per year, and people can go to two of the 10 events, and then he has one big event. And because if you've ever been to a mastermind or ran a mastermind program, like you can only get so many people in the room. And we're almost at the capacity for people in our high level mastermind, like about 40 or 50 people in the room, and then it becomes a little less personal, and then people start to complain about, well, it's not like it used to be. And so what I want to achieve is where we have 10 events per year of about 50 people, and our group will have about 300 or 500 members, and people can come to two events and then to the one big event per year. And right now our program is 40K for the year, and eventually the price will continue to go up, um, and it will just bring in high level entrepreneurs, because what we do is we help entrepreneurs get off lonely entrepreneur island. And everybody listening has lives on lonely entrepreneur island or has lived there. And what that means is you might go to an event with Jacob, or you might go to an event with other trainers, you might go to a big business event like 10x growth con or a Tony Robbins event, and you get fired up, and then you come back to your real life, right? And your brother-in-law plays golf and works a corporate job, and he's always chirping at you about you know your business not going to make it, and your parents don't understand you, and your spouse, they're supportive, but they have no idea what you're talking about, and they don't want to hear your complaints about employees, and your employees don't want to hear complaints about anything, because you're the boss, you're the rich guy or rich woman. And so you're stuck. You got like nobody to talk to unless you're in a community, unless you're in a tribe, and that's what we deliver. So our goal is to continue to grow ours, and continue to expand our network so that we're bringing in bigger and bigger entrepreneurs as guest speakers and experts, because that type of stuff has changed my life so much that I want to do it the same for others. And then, as somebody who's written 4 books, I got so many more inside of me. I already want to start working on the next one, but I need to fully promote this one right now. So that's a vision for my work life. And then in terms of our family life, right now we're in Vancouver. I'm trying to convince my wife to move to Whistler, but I don't think that's going to happen in anytime soon, because her family's a lot closer here in Vancouver. But it's an amazing place to be, so we're super happy here. And we're travelers, so we're going to start traveling the world with the kids later this year. It'll be a wild experience with three under four, and so but that's my life, man. And so anybody who's listening to that, you just saw my vision for my life, and you get a pretty good idea of how my life looks and what's important to me, and that's my straight line to success. I want you to have the same for your life. When you have that much clarity, it allows you to make the right decisions easy. Very easy to make the right decisions. Very easy to say no to dangerous detours. Somebody comes along and says, "Hey, Craig, we're getting the old boys back together and we're going to Vegas for a weekend." That's an easy no. Hey, how does that serve my vision, man? That is only risky and takes me away from what I want to achieve. So, God bless you, have a good time, but no, thank you. I don't even have to think about that. It's automatic. It's my standards, and that's the way we need to live, because it's just so much less energy when you have to make when you don't have decision fatigue, is the phrase. So I appreciate the question, because I love sharing that stuff. I love thinking about that, and that's part of what I do in our coaching, is really get people to spend a lot of time on that. And I talk about it a lot in the Dark Side of Discipline book too, because if you don't have that, every decision you make about what to pursue has the potential to be the wrong decision and get you in a lot of trouble.
Why do you think, in your book, when you talk about the dark side of discipline, why do you think that so many entrepreneurs and people in general are see like David Goggins or like ultra discipline and are want to be part of that, and become like I know I think you said in an event or in a podcast that like if you take like 4 hours to do your morning routine, you got something wrong or something like that.
Sure.
Why are we attract to that stuff, do you think?
Hey, it happens to me too. So, you know Chris Bumstead, you know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So Chris Bumstead, for everybody who doesn't know, he's his Instagram is CBum, and he won like the Mr. Olympia natural bodybuilding 6 years in a row. And so I didn't know who he was until about last year, and Alex Hormozy started posting about him, and now I see his stuff all over the place. And every time I see his stuff, I'm like, I should start natural bodybuilding again because I used to be really into it when I was younger, and I was like, I should start again. And it's the most ridiculous thing because I should not do that. I should not. That's like I don't have 2 hours a day to go and train. My body's so beat up from sports and jujitsu and all this stuff that like I wouldn't last a month without having to go to the chiropractor and physiotherapist and acupuncture 4 hours a day. So it's the most ridiculous thing. But why does my brain want that? And the answer is there's a phrase called mimetic desire. Mimetic desire, Mimetic, mimetic desire. And mimetic desire is a human nature, it's one of our stupid human tricks, like procrastination. When we see people who we look up to and they are all interested in something or doing something, or we see people getting attention for doing something, humans, maybe it's because like we wanted, if you go back evolutionary, we wanted to be elevated in the tribe, right? Because the more elevated you are in the tribe, the greater your chance of survival and mating and all that stuff. So maybe it has to do with that. Or maybe it's something that, God curses with after Adam and Eve, messed up in the Bible. Who knows? But it's from everything. You see somebody with a supercar, you see somebody with a $100,000 watch, and even though like I don't wear watch, I don't like watches, but you see it and you're like, well, maybe I should get a watch just because you see it. And it's the same with cold plunging, working out twice a day, reading a book a week, green juice, whatever it is. Like again, these are good things on their own, but as entrepreneurs, especially as entrepreneurs, we are very ambitious people. We want to do everything. We want to have everything. We want to do it all. And we're like wild horses. That's what I call us in the book. We're wild horses. There's a phrase in English, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. and Hormozy just made a funny video on this phrase the other day. The wild horse, you can lead the wild horse to water, and the wild horse will drink all the water, they'll snort all the oats, and they'll go running around until they're exhausted. And that's what happens to us. So we see David Goggins, we see the challenges, and we say, I'm going to go and do that because we're reactive to it. And we don't step back and go, wait a minute, what about my North Star, my vision for my life? Where does this fit in? And so we're running our decision making through the filter of, is this going to make me feel good right now? Am I going to get dopamine hits from people liking my content when I start doing cold plunges online? Because, I see people cold plunging and posting about it all the time. And it's so like 5 years ago. I mean, it's not even interesting anymore, but people still do it because they want to get some likes and stuff like that. But even though it doesn't serve you. And so the bottom line here is what you're doing serving you and your vision, or are you serving that thing? And if you're serving that thing, that challenge, that fitness competition, that item that you're trying to buy, that you're going into debt to buy, you're now a prisoner of that thing and you're not free anymore. And to me, freedom is the most important thing in the world. It's funny. I was just on my Kindle reading before this, and I'm reading this book about a Canadian billionaire. The book is called From Barista to Billionaire, about a guy named Andrew Wilkinson. And he got rich in the digital marketing world. And he's telling this story about how he went on a yacht. He thought like he's super rich. He's got about a couple $100 million at this point in the book. And he's talking about renting a yacht because he's like, what am I going to do with all my money? Because maybe I'll buy a yacht. So let me rent a yacht for a few days. And he hated it. And when he got back from that experience, he was like, I have 3 houses. And all I ever do is get annoyed all day long by, oh, this house needs a new roof. The gardener wants to do this at the other house. Oh, the penthouse downtown has some issue with it. You know, the people need to come in. Can you make sure someone's there to let them in? And it was consuming his life owning all of this stuff. And eventually he says, I wish I just had, all I really want is time freedom. And that's what most people are after here is time freedom. Being able to do what you want, where you want, with whom you want, whenever you want. What you want, with who you want, where you want, whenever you want. And it's not that hard to do. You don't need billions of dollars to do it. And then eventually the billionaire guy loses his marriage. And I'm like, man, I'd much rather have millions of dollars and be happily married than have billions and be divorced and not see my kids all the time. Like that'd be the greatest prison sentence of all. So why do we do this stuff? We do this stuff because it's wired in us for some reason. And unless we stop and do the hardest thing of all, remember everybody's posting about, I do hard things on the internet. Yeah, sure you do. Um, do you work 12 hours a day in construction? No, then you don't do hard things. So, all these people posting that they're doing hard things. The hardest thing that you could do is really stepping back and thinking about what you truly want in life and then saying no to everything else. And that's it. But nobody wants that story. Everybody wants it doesn't make for good Instagram posts. So anyways, that's why we do it. That's why we get caught up in it. And the solution to not getting caught up in it is to know what really matters to you and forget everything else.
Yeah, it's so. And do you have a process that you teach people to? Because I talk with a lot of people that don't really know what they want to do. Like it's like one time they say, "Oh, I want an online business and travel the world," and the other time it's like, "I want a Lambo and have." So it's kind of I think it's kind of hard because in social media we just have like so many stuff and it can sometimes I just wonder to myself like do I is it something that I like or is it something that I see all the time so I think I like it so how
Yeah,
do
exactly.
you teach people with that?
Right. So there's this thing called the Clifton Strength Finders test. Have you ever done it?
No.
Okay. So what it does is it ranks you on 32 different characteristics after a little question. It's kind of like the Colby thing and the disc thing. But I found it interesting because it ranks you on these characteristics instead of giving you a number. And so my top five, three of them are futuristic, visionary, and strategic, right? So I always am thinking about the future, which is a double-edged sword inside of itself. Sometimes I get a little bit too far away from the present, but I'm always thinking about the future. So creating a vision for my life and knowing what really matters to me comes naturally to me. So then over the years, for the last 10 years, I've been trying to help entrepreneurs do this for themselves. And the best way to do it, we talk about three steps in the dark side of discipline. Number one is figure out what's your big why. What really matters to you? Why are you really doing all this that you're doing? And in most cases, it's for your family, it's for freedom, or maybe it's for some specific impact you want to have on the world. I have a good friend of mine. She started a nutrition company because her mother died at 65 years old from type 2 diabetes. And that was really hard for her as a 25-year-old woman. And so she went and then made her life's mission to help and make sure that other women don't do that. So that's one of her big whys in addition to her family. But knowing what your core reason why that you're working so hard, that's really important for everybody to know. A lot of this stuff is harder the younger you are, right? Because you're just getting a taste of life. You're not really sure, especially if you haven't done much traveling. You don't really understand the world. But the older you get, the easier this becomes. You understand what really matters. The second step is creating that vision for your life, which you talked a little bit about. In the book, we have like a step-by-step process. We ask, with prompts for you to figure out exactly where you're getting in your life. And I have YouTube videos on this. So if you want to Google Craig Ballantine or go to YouTube and search Craig Ballantine vision planning or goal setting, there's plenty of videos I have that'll walk you through from where you want to be in 3 years to what you need to do in the next 90 days and even the next 24 hours to achieve your 3-year vision. I can go real deep on that stuff, but it's very important because, again, that's your North Star, straight line to success, and helps you avoid the dangerous detours. And then the third thing that we ask in the book is what's your specific definition of success? It's particularly around discipline. Because if somebody got interested, like, in this podcast, they saw the word discipline. They're like, I want to be more disciplined. And they came on the show and they were like, how do you become more disciplined? Well, if 1,000 people came to me and said, I want to be more disciplined, what does that even mean? More disciplined. For all 1,000 people, it's going to mean something different. Somebody might be, I need to quit drinking. Somebody might be, I need to stop pornography. Somebody might be, I need to spend less time on my phone around my kids. That's their idea of more disciplined. So I need to know your specific definition of success, for I need to be more disciplined. Like when someone comes to us at the gym and says, I want to lose weight. Well, I can help you lose weight. You want to lose 1 pound? You want to lose 100 pounds? There's lots of ways to do this, but I need to know more details about where you want to get to. So what's your specific definition of success for working with me? So when we know the answer to those 3 questions, we have a clear roadmap of where you want to get to. And then it's easy to build the blueprint. It's easy to go into the second part of the book, which is building the effortless discipline systems, which allow you to achieve those things almost automatically and go from bad habits to good habits. And so we need to step back, do that big thinking. All right, now we have the proper orientation. Because one of the problems that people have is that they see all these things online and they go, okay, I need to join this challenge where I work out twice per day. But the real problem in life is, their marriage or their relationship, their fiance is not happy with them. It's like, oh man, I don't know, maybe should I call it the wedding if you're going to act like this? And then you go and start a two workout per day program. That takes you further away from, solving that big problem. But they are reactive. They see it on Instagram. Oh, that guy works out twice a day. I need to go start working out twice a day. And they're not thinking about the big picture. They get, really narrow focused. And so it's key to figure out what you really want. And when you do that, then you'll make all the right decisions from the start and you go in the right direction and you'll have way less stress.
And in your book, you talk about personal standard systems. How do you create these to help you be more disciplined, but like you said, be aligned in your vision?
Yeah. So discipline is when we think of discipline, we think you immediately think of somebody struggling through something, somebody suffering through something. And that can only get you so far. Like if you're going to suffer every single day with and rely on your willpower, as Ben Hardy wrote a book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And it's true. Like you can only get so far with it. So there has to be something deeper. And there's 3 levels. There's systems, identity, and standards. So the systems are broken down like this. In order to change any bad habit, you really need and put any good habit in place and make the right decisions, you need elimination, preparation, and connection. So if you want to stop a bad habit, you have to eliminate the ability to do that thing. So eliminate, if you drink too much, get all the booze out of the house. If you drink too much, stop going to boozy environments. Don't go to bars, don't go to clubs, don't go to sporting events where everybody's drunk. You have to remove yourself from that at first. Eventually, you'll have such strong systems, you can go to those places and not get drunk. But right now, at the start, when we're shifting that bad habit, we have to put so much friction in the way of you doing that you won't make that mistake. And then you have to also eliminate the toxic people from your life that pull you down into the bad habit. And that goes for everything, whether it's Netflix, whether it's using your phone too much, whether it's pornography, whether it's binge eating, you need elimination. Then the preparation is on the good habit. If we want to make the bad habit as hard as possible to do, we want to make the good habit as easy as possible to do without, requiring decision fatigue. So planning and preparation. Every personal trainer in here and gym owner and fitness expert has had a client who came to them and exercise was not their, regular thing. They've had a very hard time sticking to exercise programs. What they needed to do is make it easier. So we would tell them, hey, listen, put your gym clothes right beside the bed, get up, put your gym clothes on, put your shoes on, have, either come and see me right away at 6:00 in the morning, or, here's the workout that you're going to do, and make sure you have an area cleaned out in your house. Because if they get up in the morning and their exercise clothes are still in the drawer and they don't know what to do for their workout, there's too much friction in the way. They haven't done enough preparation to make that easy. And so if you want to write a book, create a course online, if you want to train up your team members in the gym to have more energy and deliver better sessions, you need better planning and preparation than ever before. You can't just, wake up and like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. No, you need to really think about it. So you've eliminated the bad, you've made the easier good to do. And then the third component is being connected to a community or to a coach who's going to hold you accountable. Because if you make a goal, like let's say you want to, create an online program. If nobody knows that but you're the easiest person to let down. You wake up in the morning, man, I got to get to the gym and train people for 7 in the morning. I don't want to do it right now. I'll try and do it later. You won't do it later. And if nobody else knows, you're the only person who's been disappointed, and it's easy to do that. But if you go into your community, like, do you have like a Facebook group or a school group or something for your
Yeah,
business, Jacob?
school group, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if everybody listening goes into the school group and says, makes a post, public accountability on this, please. And then you say, hey, listen, in the next 60 days, I'm going to create my first online program and I need to be held accountable to this. And if I don't do it, then you're going to feel like a hypocrite. You'll have let all these people down. It's a real moment, it's called a burn the boats moment because there's no going back. But when you do that, the cool thing is you're in a group of good people. They're going to go out of their way to help you. You're going to get messages. People are going to be checking in on you every day. So and that's going to spur you to make progress because it's just like when you enter a marathon or you enter a fitness competition. If you tell a bunch of people, everybody's just going to be asking you like, hey, how's the training going? It's coming up soon. Are you ready for it? And if you're a person of integrity, you're going to be ready for it. You're going to get it done. You're going to hit that goal. And that public accountability will make you move mountains in life. Man, will it ever. As well as having accountability to somebody you deeply do not want to disappoint. So when I met Bedros, I had lots of things I wanted to change in my life. And I had other coaches and I did, most of what they said. But when I met Bedros, I looked up to that guy like a big brother. And I was like, man, I do not want to let this guy down. So if I said I was going to do something, I got it done better and faster than what I said I was going to get it done. And that, man, planning and preparation and elimination really helped, but the connection was the missing link for a lot of people because they just go around with their goals and their plans in their head and they let themselves down all the time. But we won't let other people down. So you got to share that with good people who will support you.
Mm. And you talk about coaching. What do you think is the best quality for a coach and for people who want to find a good coach for them, what they should look for?
There's a couple of things. So the first thing, this is like a baseline level. They must have done this. Like there's somebody who has been there and done that and achieved what you want to achieve. Because if they haven't achieved what you want to achieve, they really won't know the path to get you there. So that's like the baseline, table stakes. You've got to have that. The next thing is they really should share your morals and ethics, right? Because you could find somebody who can get you to where you want to get to, but they might tell you to do things that make you feel anxious on the inside, like, whoa, I don't feel right about that. So you need to find somebody who shares your morals and ethics. And then you need to find somebody who will happily introduce you to other past clients so that, just like, if you want to find a plumber, sure, you go onto the internet and you find somebody, but you want to read the reviews about them. And if it's a real big job, like a contractor for your house or you're building your dream home, you want to talk to other clients of that person first before you hire them. And it's the same with your coach. And any good coach, if you say, hey, listen, I'm willing to invest with you, but I would either like to come to one of your events or um, I'd like to talk to some of your other clients. I like to know like what you say about yourself is the real deal. And any good coach should be able to, yeah, sure, I'll introduce you to one or two. Now, of course, my clients are very busy, so it's not I can't be saying, hey, can you talk to 10 people today? But we always do that. We always make sure like if somebody has questions about working with us, we get them to an event first or we introduce them to one of our clients who's in a similar business or who had similar problems. And it might take a week or so to get them connected, but that's what you should do. Just like if you were hiring any other professional, that's what you should do. And so when you put those three things in place, someone who's been there, done that, achieved what you want to achieve, someone who shares your morals and ethics, and someone who is willing to provide you the connection, then you'll have made the right decision.
Yeah, that's good. Good thing to know. When we talk about system, what's the you think the easiest system that someone can uh, bring to their life to be more disciplined today and achieve their goal?
Yeah, I think the discipline through subtraction is the first place to start, because it's not about adding a whole bunch of more new stuff. It's really getting rid of the stuff that's weighing you down. And unfortunately, a lot of the times, what's weighing us down in life are other people. And, so I used to be a binge drinker, like most Canadians, right? And so most Canadian young men go through a little phase where they drink too much. And I had friends who I guess were really toxic people. The only time I ever interacted with them was when I was drinking with them, and I just had to like not hang around those people anymore. Stop returning their calls, etc. No more meeting up with them. Then there were other people who were good friends of mine who I drank with, but also did other stuff with. I don't believe in what some social media people say. You got to cut everybody from your life. No, man, this is crazy. Like people are meant to be social, and so what I would do is I subtracted us from the negative environment. So with my best friends that I still wanted to hang around with, I said, "Hey, let's go for a hike Saturday morning. Then you guys can go out drinking. I don't care. I'm not going to do that. But let's go for a hike Saturday morning. Let's go to the gym. Let's go play tennis. Let's go play football, whatever. And let's do something in a positive environment, maintain our friendship. But I'm going to eliminate myself from the toxic environment." And that's what we need to do. And then eliminate all the triggers. So, you could use, if you're addicted to your phone, what's the solution for that? Like trying to keep your phone beside you all day and just say, "Oh, I'm not going to use it." Yeah, give me a break. No, you need to use something like the Opal app, OPAL. It's got 4 million users. It's one of the most highly rated uh, website blockers for your phone. And so you go and get the Opal app on your phone, and from 9 a.m. until noon, I really need to work on this project for the gym. Great. So you block access to everything on your phone. So you can't do anything except work on your main project. I'm going to go check my text messages. Oh, you can't, because they're not going to come through for 3 more hours. So you're eliminating this distraction. I always leave my phone when I'm working on a project. I leave it in another room. I turn it off. I make a lot of barriers, a lot of friction to that. And so that is discipline through subtraction. That's what we do for our clients in most cases. We help them get the junk food out of the house, and we need to do that for our bad habits. And it's like removing the ball and chain from you. Removing the weight that's holding you down is one of the most important things you can do, and that will move you ahead fast.
Yeah, that's good advice. Like you said, when you start training a client to lose weight, you said you have the I binge eat donut, just don't get donut to your house. That's
Right.
the easiest solution.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
what's the
Success is simple. We just like to make it really hard.
Yeah, that's a good quote. What's the biggest mistake you see entrepreneur and high performer make when they're trying to be more disciplined, grow their business faster, achieve more thing?
It's easy. We say yes too much. We need to have the discipline to say no. So if you want to do great things, you have to do fewer things. So lead generation is always a big problem for fitness businesses, whether it's online or offline. And you could be doing 5 things like LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, right? At least 5 things. Chances are you have one of those that works. And what entrepreneurs tend to do is think, I need to fix the other 4. That's not it. You need to stop doing the other 4 and get better at the one that works. The 80-20 rule: 20% of your efforts are going to bring you 80% of your results. So just stop doing LinkedIn, stop doing YouTube, stop doing your podcast, stop doing the stuff that doesn't work. Instead, focus on what matters. So say no more often. And people are always bringing you like, "Hey, we should partner on this. You want to do a side hustle on this?" No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just focus on what is working. But again, as entrepreneurs, we are that wild horse. We're ambitious. We want to do a million things. We see people with 19 businesses online, right? We see Bedros with 7, and this guy was passive income from 14 things. And oh, now Cody Sanchez is talking about vending machines. Now I got to go get a vending machine. Like, we can just go insane with saying yes to things. But if you say yes to everything, you say no to the main thing. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. If you want to do great things, you have to do fewer things. And it's just, again, we're ambitious people. We're not like, we all have friends who just sit on the couch and watch Netflix and go to their job. They don't say yes to anything. But we say yes to everything. And we need to rein that in, say no, and stay focused.
Yeah, and like Bedros, he has a lot of business right now, but he's been like Fit Buddy Bootcamp was his main thing for
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe or 15
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah, for sure.
like when you're
And
at
then and then his new opportunities, like um, Truline, the supplement company, was just an obvious extension, right? Because all those people are going to his gym. He's selling other people's supplements in his gym. Duh, why would you not start your own supplement company? You already have a built-in audience. But if you're running an online fitness business and then one of your friends says, hey, we should start a clothing line, that doesn't make sense, right? It's just too far removed. You're a fitness expert, you know nothing about clothing industry. And I see this all the time. I bring that up because if I had like $5 for every time a young entrepreneur said, hey, I need help starting my clothing line, I'd have like 20 grand. So many people think that they're just going to go and start a clothing line. That is a cutthroat industry, man. Like, the margins are so thin. You got to outsource to like India. It's crazy. You have no idea what you're doing. And you think because you have a $250,000 a year gym, you're going to start the next Gymshark. It ain't going to happen like that. So, so say no to those things and stay focused on what matters, because you can get rich when you stay focused.
yeah, that's good
The only
advice.
thing is, like, starting a new business is like, you put a level 5 effort into a new business and you feel good, right? It's a level
Mhm.
1 problem to start a new business. You put a level 5 effort in. You don't even have to put much of an effort in. And you're like, oh yeah, man, now we got a clothing company. We ordered like 50 hoodies. And you feel like, yeah, awesome, clothing company. But your level 10 problem is that your gym is not really that profitable. You go and fix a level 10 problem.
Yeah, that's good advice that I was in that situation a couple of years ago with I
Yeah,
started
sure. We
a
all,
clothing.
listen, we all make these mistakes.
Yeah. I had a clothing company in 2017, so say 16 or something, so it didn't work out.
It's natural, man.
Yeah.
Like, again, we see people doing it, and we got, you're a young guy, high energy back then. You're high energy now, but I mean, you had more energy back then, and we just think we can conquer the world, and we can conquer the world when you stay focused.
Hmm. Yeah. You wrote a lot of book. I got the Perfect Day Formula. That's really good. The book Unstoppable, and you wrote two more with the Dark Side of Discipline. I'm curious to
Yeah,
know what's your process when it comes to writing. I know you wrote a lot of email in the past
yeah.
10 year. Do you have a process? Do you do like one shot, like 3 months? I'm writing a new book. Is it a little bit?
Yeah, writing a book is a long, painful process. If you want to write a very good book, right? Like, anybody can write a very simple book that, is maybe 50 or 100 pages, and they just want to use it for promotion. But if you want to write a book that people will say that was a great read, really great lessons, it's a lot of work. And so for this one, for the perfect week formula, which I think is one of my best books, it was my third book. All I did for that one was I downloaded a whole bunch of audio and video trainings to a co-author, and he wrote the book. The first book I did absolutely wrong. I wrote 300 pages of all these essays that were not connected, and I sent it to an editor, and fortunately he fixed it, but he cut 200 pages from it. So I just wish I had those 200 hours back that I wrote all those extra pages. So with the Dark Side of Discipline, to make it very easy, the most important thing is figuring out the title of the book and then the outline of the book, and making sure that you have the stuff in the right order. The other thing with books is that most people haven't lived the book, so they shouldn't write it. I see a lot of young people, they want to start the clothing line and write a book. but you've only lived 6 chapters of your book, and your book needs to be 10 chapters. You haven't lived the conclusion. You haven't had the success that your book needs in order for people to take it seriously. So with mine, I just go and I figure out the outline. I come up with, 10 or 15 chapters. And then if you are going to write a book, here's an easy way to do it. After you pick the title and the topic, and it needs to really stand out and be new, for each chapter, think of 5 different subsections in the chapter, and then break that down and put in 3 questions for each subsection. So if you're writing a 10-chapter book and there's 5 sections, so there's 50 sections in the book, and you have 3 questions for each one of those sections, you have 150 questions to answer. And provided you put it in a good order, it's going to be pretty. Now you can just go in like 200 words for each question. Now you got a 30,000 word book. And that should only take you about 12 weeks. Now, here's the thing. It's going to be a bad book. It's going to be crappy. The first draft of every book is crappy. And this is where it gets hard, because I wrote the first draft of Dark Side of Discipline from January 1st to March 16th of 2024. And then I was like, this is not very good. And I sat on it for the summer. I thought about it, but I didn't do anything with it. And then I realized I needed a co-author, Daniel Woodrum, who really does the standards part of the book. And then we started working again on it in October. And then we took a couple months off because the coaching business needed our attention. And then in December and January, we got serious and finished it. And then from January until just yesterday, which is almost another 2 months, it was all editing, going back and forth. Like, the editing is the most painful part, because you've written the book like 3 times now, but now you go back and you have to reread your own book 10 times minimum in order to do the editing and get it as tight as possible. Because I wanted to the latest book is the shortest one I've ever written. It's 25,000 words. Well, that's what I wanted. I got it to 26,000 because I wanted it as tight as possible. Because here's the unfortunate secret, Jacob, is that 90% of people will never get past chapter 1. And I know personally, like, I have hundreds of books in my house that I've bought from Amazon and not read, because I'm a wild horse when it comes to buying books. And so many people will buy your book and they won't get through it because it starts off too slow. So we started off with a banger, and we got lots of really great information, so that if somebody only reads the first chapter, they'll recommend it to a friend. That was what we were aiming for with our book. And I think we did that. So those are all the things that, it's a 14-month journey since day one with that, when I wrote my first words for the book. And that's how it all came together. And then there's the whole marketing and promotion of the book, which is another, conversation on its own, because I realized I'm working with a real professional on this now. And I did so many things wrong with my Amazon listings and the way I published my other books that I probably lost a lot of sales because I did it wrong, but we're doing everything right this time. So that's another hour-long conversation.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are expert in that, and that's the only job is to promote books and have everything set up. So,
Yeah.
and I'm curious to know what's your favorite quote or let's say phrase right now in that stage of your life.
I'm going to use 2 from James Clear. I mean, the guy's wrote a great book with Atomic Habits. He has great content. And so one of his quotes that I stumbled across recently that really applies to what we talked about today is, it's hard to save a bad decision made early with a lot of good decisions made later on. So if you make a bad decision early in what you're chasing in life, you can make a whole bunch of good decisions later on, but you've already made the bad decision. So, if like, to use an extreme example, if you go out drinking and you make the bad decision of getting behind the wheel of a car, pulling over and ditching the keys and running when the cops come after you, that's not going to save the first bad decision that you made. Like, you've already made such a bad decision that nothing will save you. And it's the same with, if there's a problem in relationship and you decide, I'm going to go and work out twice a day, that's a bad decision. And, if you like, so, I'll go to a gym that's closer and save 15 minutes, Sure, that's a good decision, but it doesn't save the bad decision that you made. So that's one. And then he has another great quote, which really helps the entrepreneur. And it's, if a decision is reversible, make it as quickly as possible. So this could be around, what type of email software should I use? Well, don't think about it. There's a million email softwares. Choose one. You can always switch to another one. This should not take more than 5 minutes for you to figure out. But so many entrepreneurs, like 6 weeks later, they haven't figured out what email software to use. Now, on the flip side, he says, if the decision is irreversible, take a long time to think about it. So if you're going to buy the land where you're going to, or the building where you're going to have your gym, that is not a quick decision, because once you buy something, it is very hard to reverse that decision. And so that's a slower decision. Hiring a front desk staff, that's a pretty reversible decision. So make that quick. But hiring a head coach in your gym and then training them and having a 6-month training plan for them after, you got to be slow on that decision because it's hard to unwind that one. So I love those two quotes.
Yeah, really good. It's been 1 hour for the talk. I'm really glad to have time with you today. Where can people find your new book, and everything you do?
Yeah, so darksideofdiscipline.com or Amazon. It's going to be in all formats on Amazon. And then hit me up on Instagram. If you have questions about this, just message me on Instagram at real Craig Ballantine.
All right, thanks a lot, and have a good day. All right,
Yeah, thank
bye.
you.